Instagram, folks. The poor YouTubers. There you are, YouTubers. I am so sorry. I've been talking to the Instagram folks and telling them how I keep screwing up and not starting my my live for you. I was only going to the Instagram people, which we do love them, but nonetheless. All right, guys, we're giving these guys a chance. But yeah, let me know where you're from. Canada, lovely. We always get a lot of Canadians. I'm always glad to see. All right, I am live here. Oh, it's still waiting for it to filter to these guys. YouTubers, I am here. There I am. All right. Sorry, YouTubers. I ended up starting you guys incorrectly. I apologize. But tell us where you're from. We've already got the Scotlandborough. Oh, Edinburgh. Nice. I love Edinburgh. I was there several years ago. Love the place. I want to go back and visit the rest of Scotland now. More Canadians. Lovely. The Americans. I love you too. But, you know, Ireland. It's always a little more exciting when the non-Americans are. No offense to the Americans. Canada. Love Canada. Thank you, Canada. I appreciate that. St. Louis, of course. London, Anchorage. New York, North Carolina. Both of those work. California. We'll just go another half minute just to let folks check in, guys, and then we'll jump right in. I've got a lot of news today. I still kind of am working on the format. What I might do today is go through some of the news a little more quickly. I still think I'd like to hit the main points for you, but I'll go through them quickly, maybe give less background, and then when we do Q&A, you guys can ask me what you want more background on. See the Instagram folks, I can already see the hearts. All right, you like that. Arizona. And I'll just mention really quick and then we'll start. Obviously, make sure you follow me, please. For me and all the other creators, following, liking, sharing, and commenting helps us a lot because it tells the programs in the sky that people like our content and the services share our content more. So please do that. The other thing for the YouTube folks, you can do super chats and super stickers. The super stickers are basically kind of the fun things. I don't think they're as fun as TikTok. I think TikTok used to do wonderful fun things. And hopefully, I still may be getting back on. We're working on it. But the super stickers are ways you can send like fun little things. Oh, Привет від Ukraini. Lovely. Tatiana. Tatiana's here from Ukraine. Oh my God. We love you, Tatiana. Excuse me. We love you. Maria, we love you too. So anyway, but yeah, so super stickers are just fun little images you can send, and it costs you a little bit of money, and it gives me a donation, which I appreciate. The super chat is if you want to leave comments. And here's how the super chat works. I am going to take comments anyway. Usually there's always way too many comments, so I can't even get to all of them. I promise you, if you do a super chat comment, again, there's a whole system YouTube used for what you pay. If you do a super chat comment, I will absolutely answer the question, and I will even one up and say, I will finish the topic I'm on and do the super chat comment right away. So it's also nice because actually it highlights it too and with the color. So when there's a bunch in a row, I can even go back and find them. So anyway, and at the same time, it helps me out with the donation. So thanks you guys. Okay, top stories. Let's dive right in. I'm going to try to jump through the stories a little more quickly today, maybe not give as much background as I said, and you guys can ask me questions later. So senior U.S. defense official says Russia has shown little to no progress in the last 24 hours, and it's the third day in a row that they failed to advance their troops. So in other words, right, we were concerned about Russia getting closer and closer to Kyiv, for example, and obviously they're bombing Kyiv, the capital, more. They went after a number of residential buildings today, a home, 2 high-rises, and another place. I'm not sure what the fourth was, but I know they went after 4 residential buildings, intentionally hitting it. One of the apartment buildings was just burned up. I mean, horrific damage they did. People tend to live in high-rises in Kyiv, especially. But they're not advancing militarily. The troops haven't advanced in their goal of getting closer and closer to, we believe, having a siege of Kyiv, where they're going to encircle the capital and try to starve everybody out. So that's good news. Another Russian army general has been killed, according to the reports from Ukraine. That seems to be the 4th general. Again, good news for the Ukrainians, if in fact it's true. I was checking in with our friend Vlad in Ukraine, who says that the news we are seeing out here in the West can't even come close to what's actually happening on the ground in Ukraine. It's so horrific what they're actually seeing there. He says the estimates that are being talked about of the number of dead of civilian dead in Ukraine. The estimates that the Ukrainians are hearing is 50 to 100,000 dead already. And that's in just almost 3 weeks. So very scary. One of the other big stories, if not the big story today, is that the prime ministers, I should say leaders, because I don't know if they're all prime ministers, but I think all three are. If anybody knows, feel free to jump in the comments. But the leaders of 3 NATO countries, the Czech Republic, Poland, and Slovenia, not Slovakia, Slovenia, are in Ukraine right now. They're in Kyiv right now. I'm pretty sure they're going to meet with Zelensky. I can't imagine they wouldn't, but really surprised everybody by the fact that they were going there. It's not safe for them, of course. That means I'm guaranteeing you their staff said don't go, and the leader said I'm going anyway. Too bad, right? So it's Poland, Czech Republic, and Slovenia. And what's interesting to me is, first of all, why they're doing it at all. I'm not really sure. I mean, it focuses the world's attention on the war once more, which I think the world already is doing. It's an incredibly brave act to do because these leaders could get killed. We know the Russians are using dumb bombs against the civilian population. I don't know if I mentioned this last night, but one of the things that I was watching and I thought about was they were talking about how the Russians still do have smart bombs. They used cruise missiles and other stuff to go after that military base in Western Ukraine, right? The one that's only 15 miles from Poland. They use smart missiles for that. They're not using their smart missiles when they shoot weapons into Kyiv, into Kherson, into Kharkiv, and all these other cities. They just want to kill civilians. So they don't really care what they hit as long as they hit some big building full of civilians. So it's one more aspect that shows that these are in fact war crimes and what Ukraine is dealing with. In terms of the visit, what I've been asked about this in the comments on TikTok earlier, and I think it was sort of 2 questions. It was worth getting into it. One of which was, why would NATO be dumb enough to tell the Russians the leaders are there? Now, excuse me, because as always, I get allergy attacks when I'm talking to you guys. God knows why. Took my pill today, still itchy nose. But why would NATO, why would the leaders of those 3 countries divulge the fact that they were going to be in Kyiv? Doesn't it make it more dangerous? I would argue it actually makes it less dangerous, because if the Russians don't know they're there, the Russians don't know what building they're in, the Russians could hit anywhere in that city, and we know they are, and kill them. And this was the second question that folks asked me: would NATO go to war if one of their leaders, if one of those prime ministers was killed by Russian troops, by Russian fire in Kyiv? I think we would. I don't know. I think, somebody would be arguing for how we stay out of it. I don't know how you stay out of it if the Polish president is killed by a Russian artillery shell. And therefore, they went public to tell the Russians that they're coming so that the Russians hold off on their artillery and they don't kill the NATO heads. They don't kill the prime ministers of these countries, because it will lead to war. So actually, it was a smart move to save their lives. The other thing is, if the Russians end up harming or killing any of these prime ministers, these heads of state, the Russians have now been warned. So now the Russians can't say it was a mistake. Oh, we didn't know that artillery was going to hit you. They were warned that these leaders were going to be there, and they sent the weapon anyway, and hurt or killed them would be the argument. So on multiple levels, I think it was very smart that they sort of notified the world, but also notified the Russians these leaders were going to be there. I wouldn't be surprised, frankly, if they even told the Russians exactly where they're going to be. Maybe not where they're meeting with Ukrainian officials, but where they're staying. I don't know. It'd be that one they'd have to be careful with, because you don't want to get the Ukrainians killed. Okay, we've got that covered. That's 1 page down already. The President Biden's going to meet with NATO leaders next week. I think it might be Tuesday. I'm not sure the exact date, but next week. Now, I'm not sure what's going to be accomplished, in the same way that I'm not sure what the 3 heads of state going to Kyiv today accomplish. In that, I agree, it looks good. It's a great show of solidarity. It's very courageous, but so what? I mean, a number of people in the comments were saying, that's nice. Give us MiGs, give us fighter jets. Don't give us cute little photo ops. Even though they're dangerous photo ops, you can get killed. I'd rather have a plane. I'd rather have a fighter jet. And I feel kind of the same way about the NATO meeting next week. My suspicion about the NATO meeting is having just, really, because obviously you can discuss things better in person than you can by Zoom, by video call. I wouldn't be surprised if they need to have a few discussions, one of which is, how far do we really go? Are we really saying no matter what Putin does, Sasha's sleeping, but she says hi too. Hopefully you'll see her later, Marilyn. But will we really say that NATO's never going to enter so long as Putin keeps his genocide, as I'm calling it, internally? And I think they're going to really have that discussion and talk, are we really going to do nothing? Secondly, what do we do if, for example, the scenarios I gave, what do we do if, and discussing amongst the NATO leaders, if Putin moves in and bombs one airbase in Poland, bombs a relief convoy when it's still on the Poland side, what's our response? Do we declare war? Do we blow up one of their trucks? So they need to discuss that stuff, and I wouldn't be surprised. What I hope is, I hope that they come up with something a little more aggressive, but who knows? I'm a little more on the, I don't want to say the hawkish side, but I'm a little more on the feeling we've done an amazing job so far, but that we're not doing enough. And we could start with those airplanes. A Fox News cameraman was killed along with his Ukrainian producer today. That was awful. There are several good stories, I would say, or good news stories. The first was, and I don't know if you saw the video, I'm going to show you in a second. Instagram, I apologize. As always, the Instagram folks, you can go, and hold on, I'll put the banner up for my YouTube banner. The Instagram folks, if you go over to YouTube, you will be able to see, I've only got a couple of videos I'm posting today, but you'll be able to actually see the videos. My YouTube is youtube.com/John Aravosis DC. You got my last name on my Instagram, John with an H, John Aravosis DC, Washington, DC. But I will show you guys, oh, thank you, Kate, that was sweet of you. I will show you guys, everybody else, the quick video of Zelensky talking to the, oh, MT, you did make it. Good. I'm glad to see you here too. Of Zelensky talking to the Canadian Parliament today. And at the very end, he got a 3-minute plus long standing ovation. It was amazing. I'm not going to show you all 3 minutes because it's a little long, but it was insane how long this thing went. So hold on a second. Where we got the applause. And I'll jump ahead a little because it was...
Ukrainian President Zelensky just spoke to the Canadian Parliament. Look at the standing ovation they gave this guy. It went for over 3 minutes. Watch. I'm going to leave it on. I'm absolutely blown away.
I'm going to jump ahead. So this is the 49-second mark. This is the 1 minute and 35-second mark. 2 minute and 12-second mark. I mean, it was outstanding watching this thing. 2 minute and 43 seconds. I'll let the last 15 seconds go and then we'll continue. Absolutely beautiful, Canada.
Both parties, left and right.
Look at that. And YouTube, TikTok cut out at 3 minutes. There was still more.
Amazing.
There was still more after that, but it cut out. Really nice. But again, people in the comments were saying, that's great. Give us planes. So, nonetheless, I think these speeches by Zelensky are important because what he is literally doing is he is lobbying members of the parliament. I know it gave me goosebumps too. Tara said it literally, oh, and Kate, thank you, Kate, by the way. I don't know if I'd thanked you when that popped up. I was in the middle of talking. You are lobbying members of the parliament. Zelensky did this to Congress. Oh, and Kate, thank you again, Kate Rodriguez. Zelensky did this with the U.S. Congress a few weeks ago. He's doing it with the U.S. Congress again this week. He's again going to be talking to them by video. If you win over members of Congress, in a democracy, which we all are, they can pressure the president, the prime minister, whomever, to do more, to do things, whatever. So our Congress, I think, has been won over. Oh boy, I'm having trouble. Tribal flute. I was going to say tribal flute. I'm thinking in foreign languages when I read that. Thank you as well. But I think you can lobby members of Congress or the parliament, and they can put pressure on the chief executive of the country to possibly do things that they don't want to do yet, such as the whole issue we're having of sending these darn MiG fighter jets from Poland. The deal that's pretty much dead in the water at this point. He speaks to Congress tomorrow. Unfabulous Kim says, okay, that's what I was thinking, that it was tomorrow. Okay, excellent. So the next small issue, former Air Force Colonel Cedric Layton, who's very good. He's another one of the commentators on CNN who's really good. And he told her, it was I put this in the good column because it's just funny and sort of dumb of the Russians to have done this. I don't know how do we. Unfabulous Life of Kim. You're just going to stay up there for a while because it doesn't tell me how to take you off. So there you are. So get this. So the Russians have been taking out communications towers in Ukraine. And, as Leighton was saying, it makes sense. They're trying to take their communications off the air. They're trying to take down their internet, their television, etc. Well, it also is taking down their cell phones, and it's taking down the 3G and 4G, cell phone bandwidth. The problem is what the Russians did by taking down 3G and 4G cell phones in Kyiv, for example, but across Ukraine, is they also killed their own communications because the encrypted Russian military communication system goes through the local 3G and 4G cell towers of the countries they're invading. So they literally took down the cell tower. The Russians took down the cell towers that they need to communicate safely with each other. So now they're using cell phones and other things that are or not even cell phones. They're using unencrypted communications because they killed their own encryption stuff. So all the things the Russians are talking about, NATO can listen to, the Ukrainian intelligence can listen to. Now, mind you, there could be some misinformation as well the Russians can give, and I'm sure there is. But every time these guys light up, they're probably divulging their location, and they're telling them what's going on. They're hearing these people talk to their families back home. I mean, it's lunacy what the Russians are doing. Again, don't forget, the experts always say the Russians have the firepower to destroy Ukraine. They don't have the firepower to take over Ukraine, but they do have the firepower to destroy Ukraine. So we're not undercounting that. But I just thought that 3G, 4G thing was fabulous. Putin today, this is actually kind of funny too. So Putin declares new sanctions on a whole list of Americans, and he includes Joe Biden, Secretary Blinken, our Secretary of State, Jen Psaki, the spokesperson for the White House, the press secretary, which I thought was kind of funny. Hunter Biden, Joe Biden's son, which is just, they're doing it just to be like nasty or whatever, right? But my favorite was they include Hillary Clinton. Hillary Clinton was Secretary of State back in the early 2010s, but she hasn't been in federal office since then. And I'm going to get into a minute of why they included Hillary, because Putin hates Hillary. I'll tell you right now, Putin hates Hillary. He blames Hillary for I almost want to call it the insurrection, but we don't like that word anymore. Blame Hillary for the mass uprising of the citizenry in Russia in 2011, when it was a real threat, a sort of a pro-democracy movement in response to the Russian elections that were a total fraud. And the Russian elections are pretty much always a total fraud, as you can imagine. Putin doesn't let the opposition leaders run. He poisons them and tries to kill them. He then, if they survive, like Navalny did, they throw them in jail. Some of the other ones, he's just murdered, poisons them, etc. Right? So the election wasn't fair. Hillary Clinton at the time was our Secretary of State in America, and she said just that. I forget the exact quote, but she basically said the elections were unfair and whatever. Basically, just saying the elections were a farce. Well, Putin got pissed at her, blames her for all the protests. So Putin's hated Hillary from the beginning, which is some of the thinking as to why he got involved in the 2016 election here in America, was because he so hated Hillary Clinton, right? Well, Hillary tweets out in response. Our journalist puts out the sanctions list and mentions, oh, it's Hillary and Putin, everybody. Hillary tweets out in response, I want to thank the Academy for this Lifetime Achievement Award. For any of you non-Americans, that's the language that is used when you win an Oscar, when you win the Academy Award. The actors always say, I want to thank the Academy. But she wants to thank the Russian Academy. The Russian Academy, she says, for her Lifetime Achievement Award. Just sticking it to Putin. Emily, thank you so much, by the way. That was very sweet of you. So that's good news. I already told you why Putin hates Hillary. I'm actually going through the news pretty quickly today. I told you I was trying to not go too long. Yesterday, I went too long on the news. I apologize. The convoy, more good news. That convoy, still not moving. I don't know if it's been 2 weeks now or how long that damn thing's been there. The convoy is not moving. There were reports a couple days ago that it had dispersed, and people were trying to figure out, oh, is it regrouping? What's it doing? Well, pretty much what they think now is the convoy. Remember, this is the convoy coming from Russia that was 40 miles long. Maybe kind of still is, but it almost doesn't exist. Actually, my dog is in the background. The Instagram people are getting a view, I think, of my dog doing calisthenics in the background. Oh, and she was. All right, 1 second. I knew it's beautiful out, so she's going to keep wanting to go out and in. There we go. Cinema verite you're getting here, guys. So so the convoy's not moving, 40 miles long. It's still like 15 miles from Kyiv, I believe, 25 kilometers. And the Ukrainians are MT history buff is correct. The Ukrainians are hammering it in the woods because basically what they think now is the convoy didn't like disperse and regroup. They ran and hid in the woods. Because they were getting blown up. So the convoy simply is like in the same location. It's just like a few feet away in the woods hiding, and the Ukrainians are blowing it up. And I saw something, MT, I don't know, history buff, if you saw this, and I'm not sure if it was this convoy, but they were showing the Ukrainians using a drone to pinpoint where these Russian trucks or Russian equipment was in the woods, and then using it to, I don't want to say triangulate, but sending the message to a fighter jet or something else that then sent a missile in and blew it up. And the American generals on TV were saying this was amazing coordination by the Ukrainians, and it showed a very sophisticated approach to battle that they were able to coordinate that. So that is, I think, some of exactly that. So the convoy's been a disaster. The Russians are still stalled. There was a really interesting thread on Twitter, and I didn't, as I said, today is my short news update day. I didn't want to get into too long on this, but talking about this convoy and how the convoy is food. I keep looking at it only to see when the dog wants to come in. It's food, fuel, and ammunition, right? Patricia, a friend of mine, just donated. You didn't have to do that, but thank you, querida. Sorry, I'm looking at Patricia. I'm looking at my dog. Sorry, guys. So it's food, fuel, and ammo. And it's been stalled. And what they said is even the convoy itself, like basically the troops coming in have got like 2 days of food, it said. They've got 1 day of food with them, like in the tanks or wherever. And then they've got like trucks there with them bringing another day of food. But it's like 2 days of food is all they've got. So you need this continuous convoy bringing food in. And it was explaining how even this huge convoy, it was to supply, I forgot how many troops. Oh, she wants to come in again. All right, you're coming in. Come on. I forgot how many troops it said it was supplying, but this convoy was supplying a ton of Russian troops in northern Ukraine who now are not getting food, fuel, or ammunition. And the thought is they're running out of artillery is one thing they were saying, which is amazing. And again, maybe MT if you've even got more. But actually, you know what? We can save it for the Q&A, MT. If you've got more, you clearly know your stuff on this. But the General Hertling was saying again, former American general, very smart, on CNN again last night, that he thinks in a matter of days, we could reach the point where the Russians will have to switch from the offensive to the defensive because they're running out of food, they're running out of fuel, they're running out of ammo. That it's really, and yes, Marilyn just said the food was expired by 10 years. Yep, a lot of the food was expired like at least 6 or 7 years. Exactly. It was crazy, the amount of expiration. So the troops in the north, they don't have what they need. And anyway, there was talk about the artillery shells now, whether they're being rationed out and they can only fire a certain amount. It's going to be very interesting. I mean, I saw one estimate of like by May 1st, the Russians are in trouble if they don't win this. But also, even in the next week or two, this could get very interesting. And yep, the Russians are asking for money. We know the Russians have been asking for help from the Chinese. The Chinese initially said no. We think they said no. Now Chinese is interested in listening, but we still don't know what they're going to provide. The Russians asked the Chinese for food, which was really kind of like, talk about getting on your knees. I mean, having to ask for food for your troops. You didn't even provide food for your troops. But they've also asked for surface-to-air missiles and other things. So, we're waiting to see what the Chinese are going to do and whether we'll have to end up sanctioning them as well. MT history buff. Unofficially, the Russians have only anywhere from 5 to 10 days of supplies for their current pace. That's exactly what these other experts have been saying. And we'll see. I mean, it's kind of fascinating. But this also could explain why Putin is just going after as many civilians as he can. That is not to say that he's not a cold-blooded killer anyway. It is also to say that Putin did the same thing in Syria. This is what he does. This is what the Russians do. They kill civilians. They don't care. But part of this, or maybe even a large part of it this time is the clock is running against them. They did such a bad job and they needed this convoy and they screwed up. And now that they don't have the convoy, the clock is ticking. And he, I think, is he's either trying to cause as much damage as he can before he has to pull out or before something happens, or or try to cause as much damage to get well, it's the same point actually. Cause as much damage as he can before the clock runs out, and then maybe there has to be a negotiated settlement. And the more he's able to damage Ukraine, he may think the more he's able to get them to settle and give him more land. There's also the possibility that the more Ukrainians Putin kills, the more Ukrainians go, or as we say in Greek, nah, like, go F yourself, as the Ukrainians say. You kill somebody's mom, their wife, their kids, I don't think they're going to give you a big chunk of land as a thank you. Now, the Brits, God bless the Brits on this one too. More good news. Yesterday, the British government came out and asked people to come forward and offer their homes to Ukrainian refugees. And they put up a website or something where people could contact. In one day, 90,000 Britons came forth to offer their homes for housing for Ukrainian refugees. I actually got to chill tell you that. Very cool of the UK for doing that. Couple more bad stories, and then we will jump right into the Q&A. I want to see Emily. I don't know. Oh, I did thank you, Emily. I just want to say, and Patricia, always my querida, amor. Patricia is a friend of mine from graduate school, so we go way back. Lovely human being, lovely woman, and lovely human being. So the bad news stories of today: Papa John's being evil. Papa John's itself, the company pulled out of Russia or stopped its operations in Russia, but their local affiliates are in some way controlled by some kind of American who goes back and forth. And the American, it's either 170 or 190 shops they've got, their pizza places, and the American is not pulling out. And of course, I get it, the argument, but it's also a bit of BS. He's doing it for his local employees because he cares so much about them. And sorry, I am getting a haircut in the next few days, and I'm so happy. He's doing it for the local employees because, he's got to be there for them. And you're kind of like, yeah, your employees are going to be hurt, and I appreciate that, but it's not like they're getting hit with cruise missiles every night in their apartment buildings, Second one, to show you just what's going on with dissent there. Oh, I was going to show you one more thing, actually. Hold on. A young girl arrested at the Cathedral of Christ Church in Moscow simply for holding up a sign that read in Russian, the sixth commandment, do not kill. That's all their sign said. They arrested her. Another Russian drone has landed in Romania this time, claiming it went off course. This is the second one. The first one, remember, crashed in Croatia and actually caused damage to like 20 cars or something. Little weird. Getting a little weird with these drones, feeling like, I don't know if I mentioned it last night, maybe I did, but just, I'm having a hard time thinking it's a coincidence. And the staff at Chernobyl, remember the Chernobyl nuclear plant, big disaster in 1986, meltdown, worst in the world, worst in history to date still. And the Russians go and decide to bomb the plant on the way into the country because it's in the north of the country, north of Kyiv, so closer to Russia and Belarus. They bomb the plant, they take it over, and they're now holding 200 staff hostage at the plant and making them work and work and work. And these staff, they've been there 10 days. They're fed up. They're hungry. They're tired. And apparently they're getting increasingly pissed off too. And there's an article, I think in the Wall Street Journal, about them and how they're even starting to just kind of had it with the Russians. But, very dangerous situation for these guys. We've got the Chernobyl plant, which still has to be monitored because it still is a hazard. And the Russians have so screwed things up. I must have skipped over it. I'll see if it's here. Either way, I can tell you about it anyway. But I want to see if I've got her name. I do have her name. There we go. So hang on a sec. I may have missed two stories. I did miss two stories. Okay. One bad and one good. I'll do you the bad first because then we'll end on a good. So my son keeps coming. It's just the time of the day for the sun to hit the cameras. So bad, I don't think I told you this. Radio Free Europe is reporting, so it sounds like they got it from a real source that they trust. Otherwise, they wouldn't report it. Russian troops in the town of Mariupol, and Mariupol, you'll recall, is they've cut off all food, all water, all heating, everything to this town, this poor town. This is the town where they bombed the maternity ward, the maternity hospital, which is also part of a larger children's hospital a couple of days ago, right? Where the one woman and her baby died. The other woman and her baby survived and gave birth a few days ago. This same town, the Russians today took over a critical care hospital and are holding everyone inside hostage. The doctors, not just the doctors, but all of the hospital staff and all of the patients are being held hostage. And they were told, all of them, doctors, nurses, hospital staff, patients, if you try to leave, we will shoot you. I don't remember if I told you guys that, but I may have skipped it. Just horrific. And the final, actually, Chernobyl. Another point about Chernobyl I didn't mention. I remember reading this. So with Chernobyl, not only have the workers had enough and they're sick of it at this point, but the Russians are making it some kind of logistics center for them. So they're turning the Chernobyl plant into some kind of military installation for them, which means they're basically, instead of creating just human shields, which they have, they're using Chernobyl as a nuclear shield. Basically saying, if you come after us, either we risk blowing the place up or you risk blowing the place up. That is how bad we're dealing with. Final story, and I'll say this is a good bad because I think there's another shoe dropping. There was a protester last night. I'm going to show the video. You all have probably seen this by now. Sorry, Instagram, but if you come over to YouTube, Johnny Ravosa's DC, you can see it too. There was a protester who was an editor at Channel 1 in Moscow, one of the biggest nightly news station. Apparently has 230 million viewers nationwide or something crazy. And the editor goes on the set of the nightly news holding a sign saying, the war is a lie, it's propaganda, don't believe Putin. No, and it also says in English, no war. It's in Russian and Ukrainian, but also in English, no war. She gets, of course, arrested, disappears overnight. This morning, she goes to court. Her name is Marina Ovsyannikova. She goes to court this morning, and she gets hit with a $280 fine and let go. And all of us are going, excuse me? This is Russia. What do you mean $280 fine? They're going to lock her up for life. Well, what people are noticing is that the fine, and I'm trying to remember which one it is. The fine was either for the trespass and the protest, and there's a different penalty for the sign. So I don't know which one, but bottom line is there's multiple charges, and this was only one of the charges. So this may be why a lot of us were talking about how this just seemed crazy that they only hit her with a $280 fine. There's a lot of concern they're going to come after her and drop a ton of bricks on her. It's still very strange that they wouldn't that they'd let her go. It wasn't for the so Newsrock is saying it was for the video. Yeah, let me show. I'm going to show real quick her protest. Also, it's fun to see anyway if anybody saw it. So this is now I've got a quick question too. I almost feel like the Russian newswoman there is in front of a green screen. Even if she is, the green screen is portraying something else in the studio, and Marina got in front there with the sign. But so check it out.
Воздействие западных санкций говорил сегодня Михаил Мишустин. На встрече со своим белорусским коллегой российский премьер подчеркнул, надо усилить сотрудничество в рамках союзного государства, а на совещании в правительстве обсуждали, как сохранить доступность.
And then they switched to other programming. That's what you saw at the end there. They switched to a hospital and then to some kind of screen with some guy announcing, technical difficulties or whatever. And yes, Sly just mentioned she had done a previous video. She did a video she did a video where she was explaining herself that went on for a while and saying how she was embarrassed to have worked because basically she was doing propaganda. She was embarrassed to work there for years. She talked about Putin and how the whole country's looked the other way when he was poisoning the opposition and killing opposition leaders and all this. It was really nice. Again, I'll sort of end with this and then we'll do Q&A. The Ukrainians were not. The Ukrainians I know online, Ukrainian activists, were not thrilled with her. And I appreciate where they're coming from. From their perspective, they say, everyone's saying how brave she was. And I still think she was brave, but how brave she was because in Russia, they could kill you for this. But, as they said, she's been doing state propaganda for years with these people. She had no problem, when they went into Syria. She had no problem when they even went into Ukraine. And just overall, it was an interesting point, which is, and it's something, and Piotr, thank you. I will get to your thing next. The question becomes, when does forgiveness kick in? And what I mean by that is, at what point do we welcome somebody to the forces of good from the forces of evil? And to what point have they repented? Or do we say, you know what, you've been evil so long, screw you? And one of the arguments I've made a lot here in the States on civil rights issues, on lots of issues, is if we want people to do good, we should welcome them when they do. If we want bad people, or let's just put it this way, forget bad and good even. If we want people from the other political party to join our party and agree with us, We should welcome them when they do that. But if we turn on them and yell at them and go, yeah, now you're helping us, why were you a jerk for 10 years? Then what's the incentive to help us at all? I get it, but I think for me, it more comes down to an issue of how genuine is she? And is she being genuine or not? And if she's being genuine about it, and she's actually genuinely remorseful, then I'm willing to open my heart to her because, she wasn't running a prison camp, but I understand where my Ukrainian friends are coming from. And frankly, they're suffering under bombs and I'm not. So it's an interesting topic. Maybe we'll even get into the Q&A or even chat in the comments if you guys want to amongst yourselves. Now, Piotr, I'm wondering if that means you're from Poland. Hang on, let me pull up we got to pull up your question so I can highlight it for everybody. There we go. But I see PLN. I wasn't sure if that means you're in Poland. Check out Twitter. Polish, Slovenian, and Czech prime ministers drove personally by train to Kyiv, exactly, and now have a conference with Zelensky. Oh, great. Oh, you are in Poland. Good for you. Yes, I mentioned this at the beginning of the show. I did not know that they'd met Zelensky yet. I saw them meeting with, I don't know who. They were in some sort of closed-in room, and it wasn't clear if, actually, now that I think about it, that might have even been a car in the train or something. I'm not sure. But they had not met with Zelensky, so that's great. If they're now having the meeting with Zelensky, that's fabulous. Yeah, no, and thank you, by the way, as well for the donation, Peter. That was sweet of you. Yeah, great news. And I mean, I still, and honestly, I'm curious what you guys think as far as what the reason. Actually, we're in the Q&A period anyway now, so let's go for it. But what you think about what's going on with the Polish, Slovenian, and Czech prime ministers going to Kyiv? I agree, it's brave as hell. I'm still trying to figure out. And yeah, Tatiana says they've already met. I'm still trying to figure out why they went. I mean, it was interesting to me as a political statement, but what the point was of that? I don't know. Sorry, I switched topics because I see people were jumping in on well, we can do either topic. The woman Marina who had spoken out on let me do Marina first since you guys had jumped in already on that. You got a lot of comments about her. Actually, I'm going to highlight because now I can highlight things too. Good. I can highlight your comments. That means I can come back to it easily. Possibly say, I'll see if Patricia, I'll see if you asked a question I missed too. Let's try this from Leslie. That's an interesting point. Yeah. No, that's an interesting point. Basically you can't apply, sorry for Instagram people, Leslie saying we can't apply purity tests to people living under fascism. They have to pick their moment to resist. It's not simple. Now, Gerda says she's read from multiple people that it was staged. I mean, the thing is, sometimes with things that are staged, I don't think this helps Putin. I think it actually lets the Russian people see that there's dissent. And not everybody agrees. I don't think it's a situation where they see it and go, I mean, some of them will think she's crazy or whatever, but I don't see the benefit to Putin of that. I don't. So that in that case, I'm not sure. Munmia, so we forgive the bad guys for us and the greater good, not for them. Well, okay, that's, first of all, yes, I think that is, okay, there's two sides to this, okay? One is the realpolitik or realpolitik, which is basically, let's just crass politics. And I will argue this very often when I do politics, when I do marketing here in town. And I say, I don't care for example, who's going to be the spokesman of our group or spokesperson of our group. And I'm saying, I don't care about diversity in that case. Like, I'm gay. I don't care. Don't even mention the gays. I want you to mention whichever community will get us the most votes is the community I want you to mention. Or whatever issue gets us the most votes, that's the one. Or if we're trying to win over members of Congress on an issue, I want to bring someone to speak to them who will have the most influence. And if that's somebody who's African American, if that's someone who's gay, if that's someone who's white, I don't care. And the same thing with this, which is if she is willing to do something that hurts the Russian war effort and helps morale of other people around the world, and especially in Ukraine, then I say more power to her just from a realpolitik, meaning just from a selfish position, it is beneficial. Then you get into the moral and ethical question of, is she a good person for doing this? Do we start to forgive her? And that's a whole other question. So, and maybe this is the beginning of her redemption if she shows she's sincere and if she continues to do good acts, and then she can prove that she's a good person. So that's an interesting way of, you got me thinking, Munmia, in that way. I think that's a nice way of looking at it. Now this is actually interesting. Jaime asks, sorry, I speak Spanish, so I'm going to say Jaime. You might be Jamie. I don't know. Can you confirm if Tucker Carlson is really being replayed in Russia for propaganda? Tucker Carlson is probably the top guy now on Fox News. He has his own TV show in the evenings, like, I don't know, 9 o'clock or 8 o'clock out here, I forget, in DC. And he has been highly critical of the Ukrainian government, very praising of Vladimir Putin and autocrats overall. He's a big fan of, God, I forgot his name last night, the Hungarian despot, the autocrat in Hungary. This is going to drive me nuts, guys. What's his name? Orban, Viktor Orban. Big fan of Viktor Orban. Does TV shows from there and says, don't you wish America look at, and all of us in America, conservatives and liberals both are going, are you insane? Like, we don't want Orban taking over America. So yes, he has been saying horrific things. He's been repeating Russian propaganda in the last week alone about these, these chemical and biological plants that supposedly America and Russia are developing together, blah, blah, blah. And the Russians have been rebroadcasting his segments on their TV shows to show that even the Americans say that these are a bunch of Nazis, who are building weapons. So yeah, it's bad. It's bad. I'm going to scan back a second since somebody said, Patricia, that you had a question and I may not have seen it. I apologize. If you're still there, Patricia, maybe pop it in again. But the problem is, as I said, these guys, everything scrolls by, guys, and it gets, Moonmia, you said, okay, I'm going to look briefly, but then we're going to go on. It just gets very hard to see the questions. As I said, if you want, Patricia, just add your question again if you're still there. Oh, no problem. De nada, Jaime. Encantado. Except we won't do, I could do it in Spanish, but I don't want to ruin it for everybody else. Let me see here. I don't think so. Orban's a Putin puppet. Except what is interesting is there was a lot of thought that Orban was a Putin puppet, but he joined the sanctions regime against Russia. And initially, Hungary did not want to do the SWIFT banking. Thank you again for the little hearts on Instagram. He did not want to do the SWIFT banking punishment, the sanctions, and he came around and didn't object to them. So Orban has been very interesting here, and it's not totally clear why, but that's really interesting. Interesting. Shelley Bailson, Police Scotland released an official statement saying there's no threat to Scotland. No threat to Scotland in what sense? I'm not sure what that's about, though. I thought you said there was a threat to Scotland. Yep, not sure. What else we got here? What do you got here, guys? Actually, ask questions away, guys, and I will try to see them. As I said, if you want to do the super stickers just to be nice, I appreciate it. But also for your questions, if you do one of those little super chat thingies, it will also guarantee I see it. But in the meantime, I'm going to scroll back. This is correct as well. Richard Fisher talking about Marina again, who is the newswoman, the editor who spoke out, who protested at the TV show. Now I can slowly start to turn my lights down because the sun is setting here, so I can have a little bit better light or more normal light. Oh, and actually, that's okay. Let it be. So on the CBS Evening News, she was questioned for 14 hours. That is true. Without legal aid, that is true. Her lawyers literally couldn't find her. They wouldn't put her in touch with her lawyers. And she came out finally when she got the $280 fine, did a quick little not a press conference. She was speaking coming out of the courthouse in Russian, did a very small amount in English, but basically said she was questioned for 14 hours. They would not let her even see a lawyer. And the fact that she's worried about further action against her, I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah. Nasty, very nasty. What else we got here, kids? Daniel. Well, I see your question anyway, Daniel, but I appreciate it. Interesting. Vincentian priests sending food I don't know who they are, but good. If they're credible, that's great. To Odessa, because they're genuine. Recommend a reliable way to donate to the foreign volunteer fighters. Now that's interesting. Now that I don't know. That's a very interesting. I have not seen that come up anywhere. What I've been recommending. Obviously you've got the Red Cross and these kind of groups, right? They're a given. What I've been telling people, because I liked that it sort of bypassed some of the groups. And actually, if you're interested, you can go this. I will read the link for you guys on Instagram, but this is these links are not clickable, but you can copy it, or you can just type it in. This is a link that I've got. I use off of TikTok, and it has a bunch of links. Well, the top 2 links are, or top 3 are this chat we're doing. Then you'll get to donating for relief efforts for Ukraine and the Ukrainian army. And what happened is the Ukrainian government set up 2 accounts with the National Bank of Ukraine, and I went and confirmed the actual. I went to the bank, and then I went to the bank's page, and then went to the English page and confirmed this is real. So it is the National Bank of Ukraine, and they set up 2 accounts: one for humanitarian relief that will go to the social aid or health and human services or whatever they call the ministry there in Ukraine that is helping people with relief efforts, or you can donate directly to the armed forces. And I Googled, and at least, again, I'm not giving you legal advice. What I saw made me comfortable donating, and I did, and it was super easy. It was literally Google Pay. I literally put in $20. I gave $20. I was like, what the hell? I gave $20, clicked. No, I did. I gave $100 to the military. I gave $20 to a different site. I've been trying to help out the Ukrainians. I put in $100, clicked the go button. It pulled up Google Pay and said, do you want to confirm this? And I said, hell yeah. Sent it. And literally with 2 clicks, I sent $100 to the Ukrainian army. It was crazy. I mean, as somebody said the other day, crowdfunding a war. It's insane. But I liked both of those because they were directly to the government. I think relief agencies are fine. But, we all know that this stuff, oh, got it on here. All right, you need to stop that. Yeah, Oop, I think you already got them. I'm not even gonna. 1 second, we're having a little problem with the commenter here, folks. All right, I had to block somebody. If it's letting me block them. Yeah, moderators, Thunder Appeal has overstayed their welcome here. If you can block them, I'd appreciate it. Yeah, folks, or just mute Thunder Appeal. There's someone in the comments that's kind of going nuts on the Russian propaganda, and hold on, I'm going to do a quick. You guys just bear with me a quick second. I'm going to see if I jump in here. I'm not sure because we have a wonderful moderator who has been really sweet and helpful. Oh shit! I can't do that. Sorry, guys. I forgot. If I jump off the page, it stops my feed with you guys. Not going to do that. Yeah, if somebody can get that person, or just the bots. Well, what they're saying for the Instagram folks, the bots have suddenly discovered we say bots meaning Russian trolls, people paid by the Russian government to cause trouble. So yeah, they've appeared. They've appeared on YouTube. What else we got here? The peacekeeping will only happen when UN. Yeah. Yep. What else we got here for questions? Sorry. Oh, anyway, so Daniel, that's all I've got for you. I don't know about the foreign fighters. That's a really neat question. But at least you can go to that link and you can support the Ukrainian military, because I was thinking the same thing. I was like, I have given money to relief, but I'd like to actually support the military effort. That's just who I am. And this allows you to do that. So why not? But, and for you guys on Instagram, again, if you go to YouTube, you can see the link. I'm John Aravosis DC is my YouTube account, but the website is beacons, plural, BEACON as in Nancy S, beacons.ai/Aravosis, my last name. So beacons, plural, beacon, like a light beacon, beacons.ai/Aravosis. And you'll be able to see the links to the web pages for donating to the Ukrainian government, which I think is very cool. Now I had, okay. What else we got questions? I'm going to scroll to the bottom and then keep scrolling up for questions here, guys. Yeah, I've got to actually go through people that offered to moderate. I've got a number of you I've got to call. You guys gave me phone numbers. I want to call and chat with you first, because clearly on TikTok, I took people up on the offer and we've had some amazing ones, but one person clearly was a Russian, somebody basically trying to, or I say a Russian or somebody on the far right, but somebody who was there to cause trouble. And they started blocking normal people left and right. And it's a common tactic they do apparently. So I asked for people's phone numbers, the number you gave it to me. I just want to call and kind of check and make sure and, make you say ice cream, you scream, we all scream for ice cream 10 times fast. And if you can do that, you will be anointed as moderator for life. So thank you. Zelensky's safe. Oh yeah. Zelensky's safe so far. Yeah. Zelensky apparently, Piotr from Poland was just saying that Zelensky just met with the visiting heads of state, the prime ministers of Poland, Czech Republic, and Slovenia. They all took the train to come to Kyiv, and they just met with Zelensky. So, yep, there's In principle, nothing wrong there. What's the attention? John. Patricia. Okay. Sorry. I see this now. I saw this earlier, Be Kind, and I thought you or somebody was writing to Patricia. That's why I didn't see it. Hi, John. My Italian friends are scared. Some of them are leaving Europe. Any thoughts about it? Wow. Your friends in Italy are scared. Wow. God. It's weird because I think oh, God. Thank you, Tony. That was sweet of you. Thank you, Tony. You didn't have to do that. I'm sorry. It's funny because Patricia's a good friend of mine, too. I'm so sorry I missed her question, honey. One of my best friends from graduate school. Wow, that's wild. I mean, I guess when you think about it, the Italians are obviously a lot closer to Ukraine than we are in America here. So I can certainly understand this. I mean, when you think back to it, right, the Europeans were always a little more worried about Russia than we were. And it's because they were right there. Russian tanks could plow their way into Europe, into Western Europe at the time. Russian tanks ain't coming to America anytime soon. So it's understandable there'd be more concern. That's wild that Italians are worried about what happens next for Europe. I mean, I will say this. I have said from the beginning that I don't know how we don't get involved in this war. I don't see a scenario in which the West doesn't have to get involved in the war. I don't see how that happens. And the reason is because Putin is going to be so horrifically inhumane in what he does to the Ukrainian people that the videos and the images coming out are going to be so horrific, the children killed, etc., and then if it goes to chemical weapons or biological weapons, that we won't have a choice but to get involved. And I mean, we are already at the point where a lot of us changed our minds. I mean, I was defending the position about NATO not getting into war with Russia before. Lindsay, thank you. That was sweet of you. About NATO not getting into war with Russia, so that we really got to be careful of that. Now I've changed because I look at Putin as an existential threat. I really do. And there's that. And also I feel like I'm living through history and I'm living through what people lived, whether it was World War II, whether you were around with Rwanda, whether you were around with any other genocides taking place. And you know how when you study these things, you hear about them, and it's always something in the past, and you say, how did they let that happen? How did people not stand up? As Newsrock says, how did we not bomb the trains going into Auschwitz? And I Googled that very complicated issue there, actually. It was not clear for a while from what I read, take it with a grain of salt, but not clear for a while that the Allies knew what the Nazis were doing in Auschwitz and the prison camps and the concentration camps. But they knew a good year before the Allies liberated the camps. We knew they were concentration camps. And there was a big debate back and forth. And even David BenGurion, right? Who's a huge Israeli leader at the time, Jewish leader, David BenGurion, or whatever his position. I don't even know what BenGurion's position was at the time, but hugely famous in Israeli history. And BenGurion said at the time that he wasn't very happy about the idea of bombing Auschwitz because Jewish lives would be lost, and not even one Jewish life, was worth losing. So just like with us now, people who are on the good guy side, who want to help the Ukrainians, are having this crisis of conscience, not conscience, but going, gosh, what if we start a war? What if we do this? What if we do that? And I appreciate how hard it is and how gray it is, but it also makes me feel like we're back in history and we're looking at this. And once again, we're saying to ourselves, this is how people come together and go, oh my, yeah, it's genocide. Yeah, he's going to destroy an entire country. Yeah, it's 43 million people. Yeah, it looks like he pretty much wants to kill all of them. Yeah, we think he's going to use biological and chemical weapons. Oh, and yeah, we think he might just use nuclear weapons. But, he's really scary and there might be a nuclear war. And, yes, but also, do you think Mr. Nuclear is going to stop being Mr. Nuclear after he kills all the Ukrainians? I don't think so. Anyway, it upsets me seeing all of this. Sorry, there were some more things that popped up here. Hang on, guys. I was on a rant there. I apologize. Lindsay, thank you so much. I think I thanked you. I'm just making sure. Make sure I thank folks here. Yep, and we got Tony with Patricia's question. The friends leaving Europe. That's wild, though. God, I feel bad about that. That people are that worried. But again, I don't blame you. What else we got? Actually, let me look at Instagram. Sorry, Instagram folks. You are few but mighty, my Instagram friends. Any questions from you guys? See the White House Instagram? No. MC Boyer says, did you see the White House Instagram? What happened with the White House and Instagram? Does anybody from either comments aware of what happened with the White House and Instagram? Did they do something snarky? Yes, moderator Be Kind is amazing. And I promise you, I'm going to try to get on the phone with at least 1 or 2 people tomorrow and start interviewing moderators so we can keep doing this. So I'm sorry. Language of horses. Let's go. That's funny. I must have just put that up, Moon Mia, without even realizing it. What else? I think Putin said Eagle won't let him back down. What else we got here for questions? Well, see, I like this because everybody's basically chatting amongst themselves, which is fabulous. But feel free to ask me questions because I am trying to find them here. When's the last time we saw Putin? It's an interesting question. I'd say a day or two ago. The question becomes whether it's recorded or whatever, right? Depending what you mean by that. I mean, look, a lot of people think Putin's sick. I had mentioned before that talking to, my friends who know a lot of this stuff, that getting my light again. Let's see if we can, I'll adjust it more when the sun goes down. But talking to my friends who think that Putin is an alcoholic and that he's on steroids, prednisone. And the reason is he's on steroids, probably because he got COVID. It did a lot of lung damage. And if you noticed, because I noticed this myself, if you noticed before the war, Putin was doing some kind of thing on TV and he kept hacking. He kept going, and I remember looking and going, what's wrong with him? And I wonder now, which my friend was asking, whether he COVID damaged his lungs. He's doing prednisone to open up his lungs, a steroid, so that he doesn't sound like he's dying when he goes on TV because he wants to look like a strong leader. But you can't keep doing steroids. That's very dangerous. And doing steroids when you're an alcoholic, doing steroids with excessive alcohol is also incredibly dangerous. It can make you belligerent. It can affect your thinking. So, who knows? Who knows? But anyway, surprised no reporter is outright asked leaders. Let me see what MT's question again. Surprised no reporter has outright asked leaders, are you willing to let all of Ukraine die before taking direct military action? Well, that's my question. Okay, I'm sorry, I'm having water. So once I get really rolling in this, then my lips get parched. Already 7 o'clock. I went on a ways. I still think I went on a ways with the news. So we'll do at least another 10 minutes here of new Q&A, and then we'll slip into hanging out. I'm promising myself we're not going to hang out for 2 hours like we keep doing every night. I don't want to burn. I'm not burning myself out. I'm loving this with you guys, but I don't want to burn myself out with this by doing this. Oh, that's right. So I was saying I have a sip of water because it parches me a little when I talk too much. I love to hear myself talk, but not this much. I like to have some repartee. So I have been saying from the beginning, and again, I am not a Biden hater by any means, but I think Biden and the West overall have put out the wrong message. I understand why they have wanted to make clear from the beginning that say we will not we will not initiate military conflict with Russia. I understand why they're saying it, because they're trying to make it very clear for Russia so there's no ambiguity, because if there's ambiguity, Russia could go to war, Russia could get confused, Russia could see, I don't know, something happening in Poland and interpret it as offensive, and then Russia blows a plane out of the sky in Poland thinking it was coming for Ukraine. Who knows, right? So I understand why NATO would say to Russia, we are not going to invade, don't worry about it. What worries me is and Biden did this, and I was not happy, when Biden uses phrases, and frankly, Defense Department's using it, they're all using it, so this was an agreed on talking point. When Biden uses the phrase World War III, it's going to be World War III if we get involved. He's doing a few things. One, he's using a Soviet and now Russian talking point. That is literally a talking point from back in the Soviet Union. Oh, Lori, I see your question. I will come to you next. There's literally a talking point from the Soviet Union. Accusing us of nuclear war was the way of trying to scare the left in America and the left in Europe to rise up and protest the government because everyone's afraid of nuclear war. Now, we're all afraid of nuclear war. I don't want nuclear war. but it was a nice way to shut down the conversation and scare the hell out of everybody. It was saying, oh, there's going to be nuclear. If you challenge me, there's going to be nuclear war, right? This kind of garbage. So I don't like when we're repeating nuclear war. It's buying into his talking points. 2, what does it do when President Biden, but when the European leaders, when everybody talks about how if we engage militarily with Russia, it will be World War III. And as I pointed out before, in American English at least, when you say World War III is a metaphor for the end of the world, the apocalypse. When you say World War III, you don't just mean the war after World War II. In American English, when you say it's going to be World War III, you mean the apocalypse. So if it's going to be the apocalypse and we all die if we engage with Russia, then when would we ever engage with Russia, which I think is MT's point, and I think it's a good one, right? If we're going to all die, if we get involved in Ukraine and hit Russia militarily, then why would we hit Russia if Russia invaded a NATO country? Everyone says Article 5. I made this point before, so I don't want to belabor it for you who have seen this, but everyone says Article 5. Article 5 of the NATO Charter says we've got to invade and defend each other. No, it doesn't. I mean, it says we can, right? If NATO still has to get together and agree, they have to say, well, we agree Article 5 is invoked or it's not. And what's the response? Should the response really be war? If we're all going to die, if the whole world, 7 billion people, are going to be extinguished if we get into a military conflict with Putin, then why would you not say, you know what? Putin takes Poland. Okay. Yeah, it's 20 million or 30, however many million people in Poland, but it's better than 7 billion dying. Oh, and he took the Baltic states now too. Better than 7 billion dying. Oh, and now he's got all of Europe. Better than 7 billion dying, right? I mean, that's my problem with this line of argument. I think it is it's almost a disingenuous argument coming out of NATO saying we can never afford military conflict, because what you're telling him is that you're never going to do it. And again, this NATO BS, I'm sorry, but come on, the NATO Charter. You know what? I'd be the first person to throw the NATO Charter out the world if somebody said, well, if you invoke Article 5, literally 7 billion people are going to die tomorrow. Literally, I'd say, well, then don't invoke Article 5, if that's literally what happens next. So very dangerous argument. So Lori, there you are. Lori asks, do you think Putin is aware of the visit to Zelensky in Kyiv? If so, do you think that would stop him from bombing? Well, Lori, we talked about this at the beginning a little bit. I mean, he is aware because the foreign heads of state made it public. We heard about it here in America, I think when I woke up. I don't think about last night, but certainly this morning when I woke up. It's now 7 p.m. in the evening here in DC. When I woke up, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock a.m. in the morning, we absolutely had heard that the prime ministers Poland, Slovenia, I'm getting tired, and Czech Republic were taking a train into Ukraine, and they were going to meet with Zelensky in Kyiv. We knew that. The fact that it was all over the news here means the Russians knew, and it also means that I guarantee you they reached out to the Russians and told them to make sure they knew, because the reason is that they told Russia for a few reasons, so that Russians didn't accidentally bomb and kill them, right? So at least they know they're there. If they don't know they're there, they're still blowing up everything in the city. Well, now the Russians know if they blow everything up in the city, they might kill one of the prime ministers. And if they do, it probably would mean war with NATO. The second thing it does is, I think it is very smart of these leaders to do this, because now that Russia knows, I mean, as a lawyer, I always like this argument. Now that Russia knows that the leaders are there, if Russia accidentally hurts them or kills them, it's not an accident, because Russia knows they're there. If Russia flies one missile, one artillery shell, one bullet into Kyiv, the Ukrainian capital, Russia is putting the lives of these foreign leaders at risk. So they can no longer say it was an accident. So that's why I think, unless Putin literally wants the end of the world, he is not going to try to bomb them. If he bombs them, we're going to war. I mean, literally, we're going to war if he bombs them. And right now, there's no way Russia can win a war. Russia, as we said, Russia may not win this war against Ukraine. Imagine if all of NATO got involved. Ukraine, God bless them, they are, I forgot the word I'm looking for, strappy little people. Not little people, but they're scrappy people, clearly. I mean, they are kick butt people. But imagine if NATO got involved. Imagine if American military, if the German military, if the British, imagine what happens. The Norwegians, from what I've heard, are amazing. Imagine if the military of all of our countries got together. Poles too. I'm sure everybody's military. We've all been trained as NATO allies. Russia can't afford that. So if Putin is if he's not crazy, if he hasn't lost his mind, there's no way he would want to do that. So anyway, that's my take on that, Lori. I just don't think. I don't think he's dumb, but he ain't that dumb. He's not dumb at all, of course. What else we got, folks? We can do another couple minutes, and then, as I said, boy, time flew tonight. I don't know why. Really felt like it flew. Ooh, yeah, same thing. I think the Russians wouldn't stand a chance. I'm just sort of throwing up random comments from you guys. Send the MiGs. Well, Brielle says, the Ukrainians are still begging for the MiGs. Oh, CB, I will come to you next. CB just threw up a question. But sending the MiGs, I still think we should send the MiGs. What I don't like is you are seeing Americans say from the American government, but I'm sure Europe as well, that, we don't need to, the MiG fighter jets from Poland won't help Ukraine that much. Well, you know what? What do you know? The Ukrainians have made these MiGs their second big request. Their first big request is a no-fly zone, which is the other thing, by the way, that everyone says, it wouldn't have that big an impact. You know what? The Ukrainians seem to think it would have a big impact, and they're the ones getting bombed, and clearly they're not dummies when it comes to military strategy. But second of all, their second big request is the planes, the MiG fighter jets that are in Poland, that are made by the Soviets, and the Ukrainians also have Soviet-made jets, so they would be able to very easily switch over and use these jets. If the Ukrainians think it would make a big deal, then I think it would make a big deal. And I forget which general, but I saw one former American general I respect on TV the other night who said that he thought, it might have even been Wesley Clark, who said he thought the MiGs were a big deal and they'd make a big difference. So I'm with you. Send in the damn MiGs as far as I'm concerned. CB. Let me see. Fossil cookbook. That sounds kind of funky. There you go. Hey, guys. Thank you, KB. Yep, I will. I'll send. I don't want to say I'll send more to the Ukrainian military. I don't know whether that would upset you. It was funny. I told one friend about donating to the military, and he was like, "Oh, I don't like that." But I'm a little more hawkish on such things. A fossil cookbook. One of the. You'll have to tell us more about that at some point. Okay, sorry, glasses back on here. The Paleogene diet. Oh, it's a lot of stones and dinosaur. Yeah, that's empty. I keep putting up MT, but MT knows his or her stuff. They need missile defense and anti-artillery systems. Now, I don't know what is anti-artillery. They clearly need anti-artillery, but I would think our fighter jets anti-artillery. What else is anti-artillery? Are there other missiles you shoot off the ground that can find artillery? I forget what you call the artillery launchers. You've seen them with actually it looks like a dinosaur, looks like a little triceratops or something, with the big plate in front. But what can you stone soup? That's exactly it, MD. You know what I mean? But what can you use to go after artillery? I always thought artillery was kind of hard to pinpoint. But if there is something, yeah, we should be sending it. Well, no, the Ukrainians do have planes, Laura. This has been the interesting thing. The Ukrainians still have planes. They're still using them. Now, the Russians are trying to make it difficult by blowing up all the Ukrainian air bases, and they've basically upped. Once we decided to talk publicly, which I think was not smart, that we all decided to talk publicly about sending these MiGs to Ukraine from Poland. The Russians said, well, maybe we need to blow up a few more landing strips so the MiGs have nowhere to land if, in fact, the Americans want to give it to them. So that was probably not the brightest thing for us to be doing, was talking about any of that publicly. Oh, that's interesting. Okay. MT answered about going after artillery. There's tracking gun and cannon systems that track and shoot down artillery shells. That actually shoot down the artillery shells. Oh, I didn't know that. Wow. I just figured you track down where the artillery is, which I remember years ago reading about this. There was even something as simple as, I want to say, like recording it, because you see where, like if the artillery is on the ground here and you see it shoot up like this, all you need is video to be able to go, it's right there, right? Except that I assume you shoot it and you move things really fast. Oops, sorry, almost pulled my mic again. What What else? Oh, actually, that's right, because we were trying to make this more of a fun conversation. Oh, yes, I'm about to switch. Yeah, let's start switching over to fun conversation, guys. I don't mind doing a little bit more. We can do a little bit more. I was just putting up the diet that he was talking about. Israel uses such systems. Can't look at them all, but it's effective. Okay. More planes, more coverage of the skies. Exactly. I don't even know what the Great Gate of Kiev is, CB. I actually don't know. I've not been, and I'd really like to go at some point. I've always been curious about Ukraine, but honestly, it was never at the top of my list. I never really knew about it. And I will say this, Scotland was in the same position for me. I never had thought of visiting Scotland, and I went to Edinburgh several years ago and just loved it. I thought it was charming. The people, the nicest can be. The accent could have been a little stronger. I liked the accent, but I wanted Americans love that. Do you say brogue? I guess the Scottish brogue, but we love that, way North Scotland kind of accent is. I mean, you can almost not I've actually heard some of the swearing videos online of Scots swearing and literally going, I have no idea what you're saying. There's a TikToker who's Scottish and everybody loves him. He's like 21 or 22 and a lot of his stuff is doing tongue twisters and other things with his Scottish accent. And oh my God, it's just gorgeous accent. Yeah. Oh, the Scottish accent, I was saying. What accent exactly? Yeah, I'm sure from the Scottish perspective, they don't have an accent for the rest of us. I know. I've got to get my recipes. I will. Well, I keep thinking what I'm going to do with the recipe is maybe I will figure out how to just do a TikTok on my recipes. I can do that. That's not a bad way of doing it. What you got here? Oh, that's interesting. Yeah. Now Lori is talking about the website 1921. Correct me, Lori. Is it 1920 or 1921? I don't have it in front of me. I'm forgetting what it is now. Help, Lori. What's the address again? Do you have the URL? You can just post it in the comments, and I can repeat it for the Instagram people. It's on. The thing is, it's on my cell phone in the pictures, but it's in. Oh wait, you know what? Hold on. I've got it here. 1920 dot. It's not 8N. That's not what it is. It's like IN. It's I. Oh, hold on a second. I think I've got the video from the other day where I showed myself like sending one, I think. Hold on, guys. As we say in America, guys. Oh, you know what? It's on my other computer still. Yeah, because I had to switch back and forth with computers. I don't have it here. Too bad. But yeah, you could say it's 1920. It is 1920, but it's not .8H. It's like dot. I can't do it off my computer. If I leave this screen, it'll disappear, you StreamYard people. So anyway, somebody Google it, 1920 something, but it's how you can send text messages from your phone to random cell numbers in Russia. The problem is, yeah, you're going to be hitting people that are not necessarily, going to be on our side. But you know what? It helps them to be hearing from somebody. It helps them to hear from somebody. So I still think, Lori, it's good that you tried. They don't get to hear dissent at all. Let them hear dissent. That's what I mean. It's 1920.in, I think, or IT. Correct. It's one of those. My water. What else we got here? The thing is, I don't really know what's going on with the U.S. and with refugees from Ukraine. I know that Ohio sort of took the lead. There was a lot of really good news about Ohio, the state of Ohio taking in a lot of them. Like one town, sorry, my lips are getting dry. One town had promised like 15,000 people or something wild, which was great. But I don't know overall what the deal is with the refugees here in the States. I don't know. Wendy, I still put dates and numbers on the TikTok vids. I'm still doing that. Every video's got a date and number on it, but it's in the description. It's in the description though. 1 second, guys. I'm looking for the other questions here. Oh, hold on. Looking at my Instagram again. YouTube and Facebook and Twitter. Yeah, I was going to say my platforms. I'm on the Instagram. People are asking whatever platforms I'm on. Exactly. I'm on YouTube, Aravosis account. No, excuse me, not YouTube. Sorry about that. My YouTube account is John Aravosis DC. Probably the best account to get on is YouTube. Because I think most of the commenters I think are there as well on YouTube. So you can join these happy people here. But the account is one word, John Aravosis. You've got my name Aravosis right there on Instagram, John with an H, John Aravosis DC, as in Washington DC. What else we got going here? Kids. as I said, now I'm happy to switch more into, yep, I've got to figure out my recipes. I will start doing a few TikToks on my recipes for folks and be able to put them on the screen so you can just freeze the screen and see the recipe. Question about Putin here. Do you think that Putin is playing a strategic plan by sending all of the unexperienced soldiers on the front lines and waiting to attack with them more? The problem is, so I'm sorry for you guys. Savorny asked, do you think Putin is playing a strategic plan, sending all of the unexperienced soldiers on the front lines and waiting to attack with the more experienced soldiers? The problem is, I was reading this today too. There are no reinforcements coming. For example, they're using 50-year-old T2 tanks or something, these 50-year-old tanks. And they were asking one of the military experts, Americans, why isn't he sending in the better tanks? They've got better tanks. And, the expert was like, for whatever reason, they don't have them. They're not sending their better tanks to the front. They're not sending more men from what we hear. It makes me wonder if so much of their military just wasn't working. In the same way that airplanes, a certain percentage of your Air Force is going to be down at any one time for maintenance, whatever, the planes need to be fixed, whatever. It makes me wonder whether so much more maintenance was needed on the Russian equipment that their military forces were just so much weaker than we thought. But they're literally using 50-year-old tanks and not their new tanks. What? Oh, that was the other thing the general said. He goes, if you're doing a war like this, the first thing you move in are you're going to move your best equipment. You don't bring your worst equipment. I mean, you don't bring only your worst equipment, but your best equipment is what you want. So it's just another idiot. If Putin's playing some really smart game, then he's got everybody fooled. But his troops are stuck. That convoy is just not going anywhere, which means they don't have food, they don't have food, they don't have fuel, they don't have water. His troops are going to start defecting. It's just, morale's going to be horrible. Morale's already tough because you've got people coming in who are conscripts. They're basically draftees in essence, right? Versus Ukrainians that are fighting for their wives and their spouses or their husbands and their kids and their grandparents and their family members who have now been killed and there's home city that's been destroyed. They're going to fight a hell of a lot harder than some 19-year-old Russian kid who was lied to. A lot of these Russian kids, apparently they lied to them and said, we're going on training exercises. And all of a sudden they're ending up on the outskirts of Kyiv getting, bombing civilians and getting bombed themselves. And they're going, what the F? So yeah, I don't think so. I mean, always a possibility, but this is one of those things where, again, if he's got some great plan, it doesn't seem to be working too well. That's at least my take. Okay, now that the sun's gone down, I keep this. I always like to have lower light anyway. It looks better, but it also is less annoying to me. It's hard to adjust. Lighting is really hard to do for these things, but it's also having a lesser light. Like when you go on TV, the light's so bright. God, it's really annoying. Well, here's the problem. Okay, Helena asks, can a neutral person buy the MiGs from Poland? Now, Poland was willing to give them away for free, actually, and give them to Ukraine, or can Ukraine just buy them from Poland? The problem is that the Poles, in the end, the Poles were not comfortable giving the MiGs to Ukraine. And I think all of this was a little too cute by half by everybody, by the US and Poland, frankly, or by NATO. Poland felt that if they gave the MiGs directly to Ukraine, it would open Poland up to being attacked potentially by the Russians. But Poland was willing to give the MiGs to America, to an American air base, the Ramstein air base in Germany, that then the Americans could give it to whoever they want, meaning the Ukrainians, and somehow Russia wouldn't know that they were the same Polish MiGs and blame Poland. I just kind of feel like it's cute, but it's still the Polish government giving its MiGs to kill Russians. What's the difference? And I kind of feel the same way there. Like, yeah, I mean, why not just give them to, I mean, if you're going to give them through an intermediary, why not just give them to them? And the other thing too is, which I am not the first person to raise this, but I'm glad a lot of people have been asking the generals on TV, the former American generals, and they tend to agree and saying, well, why is it like okay for America and Europe to send these Javelin anti-tank weapons, these shoulder-launched weapons? They go up in the air and they blow up the tanks, and we kill the guy in the tank. Why are we able to use rocket-propelled grenades and other weapons to attack tanks and things? And so it's okay to kill the tanker that way, the tank guy, but if we kill him using a MiG fighter jet, that's really bad, and Putin will declare war on us and use nukes. I mean, they're dead is dead, as the expression goes. And I think it's kind of bullshit. We killed hundreds of Russian troops. Okay, they were mercenaries, but still in Syria, there was no nuclear war. Clearly, we are responsible for, or not even we, but I'll say it's funny, as I talk, I keep worrying that I'm going to pop up on Russian news, but clearly a lot of equipment that NATO has provided has killed Russian troops. Clearly. That's the whole point of it. I mean, we say defensive weapons, but come on. What do you think javelins are for? They're for blowing up tanks. I mean, so it just seems BS to me that like the Russians are okay with us killing them, but if we kill them with a fighter jet, that would be, nuclear or whatever. So anyway, it's this whole, like I said, the whole thing with the planes is very upsetting to me. I don't know what's going on, but it's ticking me off. Hang on. We got a couple more questions here. It's a little annoying because I can pull up the question, but then I actually have to find it. Okay, you got both of you here. Okay, hang on. I'm going to scroll down. We got 2 new questions. Here, I'll do Lori first, and then I'll scroll up to CB. So Lori says first, excuse me, I'm getting word that Putin would rather use extreme weapons like chemical or false flag nuclear than lose a war to a community. Well, yeah, I mean, that's some of what people have been talking about. Now, false flags are interesting because false flags can be either it's a fake attack in essence. So meaning a false flag attack would be, oh, somebody blew up a chemical weapon all over Kyiv. Who could it be? It must have been those evil Nazi Ukrainians who we, Russia, have been telling you all along had chemical weapons. That would be a false flag. It's Russia blowing it up and then trying to blame the other guy. So it's false. The other way you do a false flag is, thank you, Debbie. That's very sweet of you, Debbie. I appreciate it. The other way you do a false flag is I'm trying to remember. There was another way. I don't know whether it was just scaring. Oh, Russia could discover chemical weapons. They could discover some, and thank God they found them before the evil Nazi Ukrainians used them on Kyiv, the capital, right? So that's also a false flag. That is a concern. Putin's in trouble on this. I was reading something the other day, and those of you who know Russian history even better than I do, my poor sister. Oh, I had to call my sister. My sister she just had to put down her dog. Oh, I feel horrible as I'm telling you this. Her dog of 17 and a half years, a Yorkie Poo, adorable dog. People who, I don't know if any of you used to read my blog, but Carmela the Wonder Dog, I called her. This dog was so sweet. And she got dementia. Oh, God. Oh, I'm going to have to call her. She's going to be a mess. But yeah, my sister called me a couple of days ago and told me her dog has dementia and was bumping into things, couldn't get into her cage, couldn't eat. They had to feed her food by hand. And she just sent a text saying the poor dog died. Oh, oof. That stuff just gets me. I mean, I've got a dog, but oh my God. So the issue, I'm sorry, with the chemical, nuclear and all of that is, I was going to say else with that. Oh, that Putin's in real trouble here. Putin is in real trouble here. Sorry, you're going to hear my family texting a lot in the background here for obvious reasons. Because what the Russian history experts were saying is when Russia when the government fails and gets embarrassed in military ventures, the government gets overthrown, or more so, after Afghanistan, the government literally dissolves. This whole Soviet Union dissolved, that the government loses its credibility in the eyes of the public. So this is pretty bad for Putin. I mean, depending who screwed up, but it's very, very bad what happened here, obviously. So, let's see. Hang on. I'm just going to mute my family here because I feel bad, but they're going to be obviously talking back and forth, which I don't blame them. I'll call my sister when I'm done with you folks. There was a second question here. Hang on. So yeah, I do worry about it. I think, first of all, he has no problem using chemical weapons anyway. To him, chemical weapons are part of the arsenal he uses to kill people, to cause as much destruction as possible, so that Ukraine has a much harder time coming back in the future, because he wants Ukraine to be basically, as he says, demilitarized, meaning he's going to destroy the country as much as he can so that he makes them impoverished and they're never a threat to him like they were a threat anyway. So I'm sorry, there was, I'm hoping it's still here. I'm going to find it. Lori. Okay, there was somebody. Mark. Oh, Mark. Okay, Mark made a donation though. Thank Mark. Pichette. Marc Pichette. I'm going to say it in French because your name looks French to me. Oh, CB. There you go. Okay. Actually, I'm going to scroll up too to make sure I didn't miss anybody else. Are the Russians or the Ukrainians using any ordnance with spent uranium bullets? I don't know. I really don't know. I know nothing. I know of the concept. I think they were worried about that during Iraq from us. There were at least rumors, but I'm not really sure. I don't know about that, CB. I'm sorry. I don't know, MT, if you're still here, can you answer this question? I'll leave it up in case anybody can answer the question. Actually, I'm sorry for you Instagrammers. CP's asking, are the Russians or the Ukrainians using any ordnance with spent uranium, bullets, things like that? This is not a good thing if they are. I don't know. But as I said, I will leave that up in case MT or one of the other experts weighs in. Oh, that's interesting. Tara, this is funny. This is funny. I need to contact them. This is funny. The TikTok banned me from doing these broadcasts last week. A bunch of Russian trolls, which are all over TikTok, came on and apparently reported me to TikTok for hate speech. My news updates are hate speech against the Russians. And TikTok shut me down like a week and a half ago. They shut down my broadcast. I thought it was my internet connection, and some of the listeners said, oh no, TikTok shut you down. Well, they did it again last week, and this time I got a notice that pops up and says you are banned permanently from doing these broadcasts, never again, for life. And I was like, what? And it says for hateful, abusive behavior, and I looked it up, and another message said hate speech. So hate speech was the accusation I was accused of in doing these news updates. Clearly it was the Russians. I appealed. They turned me down immediately. There's no human being to talk to, big company. Well, you guys, we'd been asking you guys to just, message them, send emails, things like that about my case. And last night, bottom line is somebody at TikTok has a new job that's relevant in the DC area to public policy. And I saw her tweet and responded to it and said, hey, great, you're in public policy, because that's me too. Here's my problem. I'd appreciate if you could help. And a lot of my powerful friends who have 10 times more followers than I do on Twitter, this is on Twitter. On Twitter weighed in. Malcolm Nance, who's wonderful, who's a good friend. Malcolm's got 1 million followers who adore him. Malcolm weighed in and was very forceful. Josh Marshall, who's wonderful at Talking Points Memo, weighed in. A number of people have weighed in for me. I really appreciate it. And let's see what happens. So I'm intrigued if TikTok even responded is great, but they responded and said, I need to contact them. I've been every day for the last week, I've been sending emails to TikTok. And I also I publicly contacted the woman in Northern Virginia, and then I direct messaged her, which is sort of the private communications you do on Twitter. I direct messaged her today. Bottom line is she did respond to some of my friends and colleagues. So at least she's aware of the problem and trying to get answers. So I am hoping that TikTok looks into this and fixes it and realizes it was a big mistake. But at least we do know that there are a lot of powerful people who love me that are getting annoyed and thinking this is part of the larger government propaganda. Not the government, but I mean part of the larger Russian propaganda effort, and that we can't afford to have companies sort of doing the Russians' bidding, whether knowingly or unknowingly. But that's really fascinating. I need to contact them. Great. Well, let's see if Tara can send me. I'd love to see the copy of what that is. What's my favorite thing to bake? Since remember, this is the part of the show where we just talk for fun. So I'll still do some of the serious stuff, but this is coffee talk, right? Favorite thing to bake. I mean, it's okay. It's twofold. I am a big dessert guy, and I've got to be careful because I put on jowls from dessert. I love sweets. They're my favorite. I like American sweets. Mom was born in Greece. Mom likes Greek, I would say European things. I think Europeans like sugar, and Americans, at least me, I like gooey. I want chocolate, and I want chocolate that is unctuous. I want chocolate that just is wet and flows. That's my favorite. That's it. So like chocolate chip cookies, because the cookie's good, but then the chocolate's all gooey. Brownies. I've got multiple really good recipes for chocolate chip cookies. I've got one recipe using rye flour that's delicious. You have to heat the rye flour in a pan, and it browns it and gives a whole nutty flavor to the cookie. Oh my God. Brownies, the best brownie recipe I've got but I still like the store-bought, by the way. Buying one of those packages at the store and making them, delicious. I think they're great. Ghirardelli, still a favorite. They're good too. They're more expensive. They're great. But David Leibowitz. Oh my God, David, I know. Leibowitz. I was going to say, David's a friend of mine. I'm forgetting his name. In Paris, has a fantastic flourless brownie recipe. Or it takes like 1 tablespoon of flour or 1 tablespoon of cornstarch, maybe. And it's to die for. Anyway, oh my God, it's excellent chocolate recipe. But yes, clearly by the way I'm speaking, it's sweets. Any kind of sweet, but they're relatively easy to make. But I was getting bored at mom. I was visiting my mom for a couple months just to see her and stuff because she's old, and I wanted to, see her because I can. And I was starting to make things. I tried making that British lemon cake. I forget what it's called. It's got a funny name that makes you think it's for something else, like a tea cake, but it's not a tea cake. But anyway, it's a lemon cake you guys make. Very good. It was excellent actually. So that was kind of fun. Anyway, I love baking. I mean, I could just do a baking show for the rest of my life and I'd be happy, and just skip the show, just do the baking. Yep. So that was CB's. Mark, I thanked you. Lori, Debbie. I just want to make sure I'm not missing anybody. It wasn't lemon drizzle. It's what's her face, Mary Berry's thing. It was her recipe, and I saw it on the Great British Baking Show because it's a cake. The name of the cake is something that I was not familiar with here in the States. Okay, yeah, I don't see any other thing that you guys had sent with the super chat. So I mean, I'll still answer questions, but I wanted to make sure all the super chat folks I'd answered your stuff. Yeah, I don't know. Sasha, yeah, Mary Berry's great. No, not lemon meringue. It wasn't something we would think of it. It was a lemon. Hold on, just Google it. Google Mary Berry's lemon cake, and it's a name the Brits use, and the name of it made me think it was something else, but it was a lemon cake. Delicious. Sasha's favorite treat. Sasha's favorite treat is whatever she gets. I mean, please. No, I mean, I have some. Because Sasha, several years ago, we had a close call. She got something wrong. She stopped eating. Not lemon coral, not a tray bake. Nope, it has a specific name. Oh, it's just bugging me. It was on the British Baking Show. They had to make one. Traditional British cake served with tea in the afternoon. And there's a name that I'd never, again, not lemon tart. It would be something that literally I'd never heard in America before. I heard the name and I said, I've never heard of that. I know what tarts are. I know what cakes are. Lemon drizzle. It was a name that I'd never even heard for a cake. Driving me nuts. But Google it. Mary Berry's famous call it. Because remember it said famous in the title. Mary Berry's nope, not Victoria's sandwich. Famous lemon cake, and see what comes up. Sponge is a word we know. It was a word that you wouldn't have known. That if you're American, you probably wouldn't. Nope, we've heard of crumpets, tea and crumpets. Lemon verbena. Nope. I know we're gonna get this. It's gonna drive me nuts now too. It's not verbena. Now I'm forgetting what else we had here. Oh, so Sasha. Yeah, no, Sasha. So Sasha, very scary several years ago. She's fine now, but it really scared me. And something duodenitis with her intestines. She stopped eating. She had diarrhea. She was at the vet for 5 days. I mean, $1,000 a day vet bill because it was really, I mean, oh my God, horrifying. And, she's fine now, but I'm really careful with her diet just because they don't really know what happened. So she gets these special treats that are like for good on your intestines kind of thing for dogs, and they're prescription, but they're very good. So that's what she gets. I try not to give her. It wasn't lemon drizzle though. I remember it was a. We're still working on the cake. It was a kind of cake name I'd never heard before. Not posset, but that's the kind of thing I'm talking about. It was a traditional tea cake that you guys drink with tea in the afternoon. And they had to make it, and they even had to take the lemons and boil them in the simple sugar a little bit to make the little lemon thing on top. Not a tray bake. Nope. You had to put the lemon thing on top. Curd cake. I'm going to Google this when we're done because, like I said, I can't Google. I don't want to bore everybody else. Lemon Victoria. I'm never going to get this. Sorry, guys. I don't want to bore everybody else with my. We just lost 50 YouTube people talking about cakes. Sorry, YouTube. What do you do? If I see somebody mention it, I'll jump in. But okay, guys, what else do we have? No, what else do we have before cake? Only because I don't want to bore the non-cake people with the cake. This is pissing me off. I know the cake thing. I did see that. Yes. So the Senate, while I'm Googling cakes, the Senate passed unanimous, which probably means unanimous consent or whatever, but unanimous that we no longer have to keep changing our damn clock, which would be wonderful. Excuse me, it still has to pass the House. I have no idea whether it's popular in the U.S. House or not. As I said, I'm literally going to Google cake while we talk. But it was funny. It was on CNN, and they were making fun of it. And I was a bit annoyed because I was like, you know what? This is not funny. I mean, I can't stand the time change. And those of us with pets, it's like having a baby. When you've got a pet and all of a sudden your dog thinks it's 8 a.m. and they should be eating, and your clock says it's really 7 a.m.? Yeah, explain that to your pet or your baby that it's not really time yet. No, it's a horrible thing. And I would love to have the extra hour in the winter would be just wonderful. I know I've got her cake here, and I am pulling it up because this is driving me bonkers. It's funny. I do have her lemon drizzle cake, but maybe it was lemon drizzle. Oh, my God. Now I'm wondering if it was lemon drizzle. I thought for sure it was a name. There was a name to the cake that was something else that I'd never heard of. Well, 3 knots? No? Okay, maybe I was wrong. Maybe it was. I'm looking sticky toffee pudding. That's another thing I want to make. We have no idea. When you guys say pudding in the UK, that's not what it means here. And I've always been curious at the British, like figgy pudding, which we sing at Christmas, but it was the Madeira. Thank you. It was the Madeira cake. Thank you, Amanda. That's the cake. 2 points for Amanda. There we go. Thank you. That's the damn cake. Madeira, because I remember it sounded like a Portuguese word, and I'd never heard it before. And they were saying it was like, and they were saying, oh my God, it's the quintessential traditional British cake. And I'm going, I've never heard of this thing before. So yes, Madeira cake. It was very good. I thought the part with the lemon for the top was a pain in the butt. I'm not doing the lemon thing ever again for the topping, but I keep going back and forth with the light. I'm liking this. I'm not liking this. That's okay. But it was a very good cake. I do love lemon anyway. Being Greek, we love lemon. So lemon's good anyway. Thank God somebody found that, Amanda. It is kind of funny. And then we talk about how, and then for 15 minutes in the chat, we got stuck on talking. You can see how hateful, you can see why TikTok believed the Russians that this is a hate speech podcast or broadcast, because very hateful discussion of recipe. When we get into recipes, the hate flies. That's an interesting question from Trevor. We'll do a little serious stuff too. Why don't you think countries send equipment in secretly? Oh, and just so folks know, we had sort of stopped the serious part of the show, and now we're just hanging out for a few minutes shooting the breeze. So that's why we're talking cake and stuff. Why don't you think countries send equipment secretly? Well, first of all, who says they're not, right, Trevor? I mean, we know about the stupid stuff they've talked about, like the MiGs, which they should have never talked about, but maybe we have sent a lot of stuff secretly, I mean, I wonder, for example, the Chechens, they had brought in, now I keep looking at Madeira cake and I'm going, oh my God. Yes, it was the Madeira cake, Thora. That's exactly what it was. I wonder when the Ukrainians, basically the Chechens came in, a couple thousand, I think, to fight for Putin. And really scary. And they sent this threatening note to the Ukrainians. They posted it online. They posted a scary video on YouTube of all of them in their camp together and this Muslim music playing. And they were all praying to Allah. And it was, the whole video was almost playing on stereotypes, trying to scare the Christian, Ukrainians that the heathens were coming. I mean, it was, I would argue the video was actually quite biased against Chechens, but it was produced by Chechens to scare the Ukrainians that, those crazy Chechens, right? Well, 2 days later, and the video was filmed in a way to make it clear that you'd never know where the Chechens were. 2 days later, the Ukrainians sent a bunch of bombs into the forest, blew up the Chechen camp, all gone. So somehow they knew. I wonder if they didn't know because Ukrainian intelligence could have done it themselves because clearly the Ukrainians are great at this stuff. Excuse me, try not to swear on YouTube. But I also wonder whether, U.S. or Western European or some other intelligence, targeting of their weapons. Is somebody else helping them target their weapons? Is somebody else giving them? I guarantee you somebody's giving them intelligence on where all the Russian troops are and where they're moving, the intercepts of the Russians. There's a lot of stuff. So I would think weapons too. There must be some clandestine weapons coming in. Sure. But actually, I'm not sure what, other than a MiG, I don't know what other weapon we've turned them down. We've turned them down. I keep hearing mixed stories about Stingers. First, I thought we were sending them. Then I heard maybe we weren't. And there's some concern with some of the weapons, we don't want, some of the weapons we don't want falling into Russian hands. Other weapons require training. Now, the training thing kind of pissed me off because I was like, we couldn't have trained them, in the weeks before the war when we knew the war was coming. Now we're saying, we'd love to have sent them those weapons, but we didn't train them. Yeah, well, we didn't train them because we didn't want to train them. So anyway. I don't know. I mean, Brielle asked. We talked about this earlier, Brielle. I was asking people what they thought. I do not understand what I think it is a wonderful symbol of hope to the world and support for Ukraine, having the Prime Minister of Poland, Slovenia, Czech Republic go to meet with Zelensky in Kyiv this afternoon or tonight or whatever time you live in, but in the last hour or two, I think. But I'm not sure the why of it because I'm not sure what it accomplishes. You know, they're not giving him the planes he wants. I mean, I just don't. If anything, the more I think about it, if anything, it almost feels like a tease. You know, like what's the point of doing this to the poor guys? You know, you're going and making a big show when you're not going to give him what he needs. So I don't know. I don't understand what the reasoning is behind it, Brill. I really don't. I mean, again, I think it's very courageous of them to do because they're putting their lives at risk. It does send this wonderful message, but exactly, it almost feels like false hope to me because it's like, oh no, we know he's killing you. We know he wants to wipe out your entire population. We know he's killing women and children and innocents all across the land. And he's even taking hospitals and killing pregnant moms. But we'll do a photo op with you, a dangerous photo op at that. Yeah. See, I'm getting more sour the more I think about it, which is funny. CB Win, can we send you some cakes or high-octane dark chocolate secretly? Yeah. Yes. It's to me, you sure can. Yeah. No, you know what's funny, actually? I forgot. Oh, my God. A friend years ago with the blog who just became a friend sent me some. And when I lived in New York for 2 years, she brought me there. There's some kind of a coffee shop in maybe it's the West Village. I forgot exactly where it was. Forgot the name. I've got it in my cabinet. I forgot what it is. But they make a wonderful dark chocolate, hot chocolate that was just delicious, very rich. I mean, it was so heavy that actually the cups were bigger than Demitas, but for my taste, they were a little small. I was like, I'm paying like $6 for this little bit of chocolate. I want a mug. Just that little bit of chocolate, I was like, oh my God, when I finished, I couldn't eat any more. You know, I'm drinking it, but thinking I was eating it. Yeah, I couldn't do any more. So that was funny. But yes, yes, I know. I do need to get a PO box or something. Yeah. Or I've got to trust you enough to give you my address. We'll have to see. You know, I had a PO box at one point and it was so stupid because the way Washington does the PO box is they don't do like mail forwarding and they don't throw it out. So literally every day, the P.O. box would fill up with junk mail for the previous people. There was like a hair salon that had it before. And the post office was like, well, you need to get a bigger box. I'm like, why do I need a bigger box? There's too much junk mail. It's not my junk mail. Like, I have to get a bigger box because you deliver junk mail for previous owners of the box. So I've been very reticent about getting another P.O. box because it was just a joke. So I don't know. We'll have to figure it out. But yes, I would gladly accept chocolate. I'm not beneath chocolate, ever. The Russians want Alaska back. Somebody said something recently about that. I don't know if the Russians were just, well, of course they were being jerks about it, but I don't know if it was something official or just somebody trying to tease, but talking about wanting the Aleutian Islands back. You know, right, we would go to war. I mean, that's a good example. Like if the Russians take one Aleutian Island, well, are we really going to kill 7 billion people in a nuclear war for one of the Aleutian Islands? No. Except that, yes, we would. If the Russians took an Aleutian Island, it would be war. We would go in there militarily, and if they wanted to get bigger, we would, you know. But, yeah, no, Leslie, I'm going to have to get to know people over a while before you get my address. Hopefully, though. Yeah, don't worry. I'm not going to do that. I know. I'd have to get a P.O. box again. Hey, for chocolate, I might just get a P.O. box. But as I said, it's annoying because they're just, you know, whatever. Oh, guys. Okay, Trevor. You know, guys, let's maybe just another minute or two. Yeah, I don't mind everybody talking baking. Another minute or two. I've never tried cannabis brownies. Nope. Not opposed to it, but never have. Probably shouldn't talk about that on our YouTube anyway. There's a pro-Putin crowd on TikTok saying they're trolling the White House page, whatever that means. I mean, well, let's go and check it out. I mean, I'm sure they're going to try to hack it. I guarantee you they're going to try to hack it. Why wouldn't, you know? But it gets interesting because they hack us. I guess the issue would be like Anonymous was hacking the Kremlin. The question becomes, is it a fringe group or is it the Russian government hacking these U.S. government websites? So the White House website is, whitehouse.gov. And of course, I typed it in wrong to White Houses, which is definitely not the address. Whitehouse.gov, just to see if anything weird is going on. No, still Joe. Still Build Back Better, vaccine boosters, statement by Biden on Russia's unprovoked attack. Nope. Whatever they've done, they have not succeeded. Maybe they put up a petition, or I don't know. Who knows what they did? But no, there's nothing. They've not done any good job of going after that. Well, anything else, guys? I'm on Instagram too. Oh, on Instagram? I'm sorry. Was there anything on Instagram? Sorry. Sorry up there, Instagram. Please let us know what your favorite book is. I don't know. I know. Thank you for that, my sister. I'm tough. I'm not a favorite. First of all, I haven't read a lot of books. I used to read a lot of books. And I think once I started blogging, because I was blogging a ton in the, in the sort of 2005 to maybe, even 2013 or 14, nonstop. And I got even a little burned out of writing. I just couldn't read books anymore. I felt like I was reading all day long the news so incessantly that I just couldn't. So I've gotten books lately, but I don't read books a lot, and I should. But I just kind of got burned out on everything else that I like after a day of watching the news all day. And, because also I'd be reading books about this kind of stuff, which would be bad. I need to read fiction and stuff to get my mind off of it. I'm much more likely, which I will tonight, go watch the originals, my little vampire series on Netflix, than to read a book. But I'm also bad at doing favors. Like people ask me, your favorite movie? I don't know. Favorite TV show? Maybe Buffy. I mean, I love Buffy. I would die for Buffy. But is it my favorite? Maybe. I'm also huge Star Trek buff. Huge. So, anything Star Trek is there as well. I'd say Star Trek anything and Buffy, but who knows, And my vampire shows, exactly, But I do like things that are fun, but I think like Buffy is the best written thing ever. And people never believe you when you say Buffy the Vampire Slayer. I didn't even watch it. My friend tried to get me for years to watch Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and I never did it because I thought it was the dumbest thing. I just thought it was the dumbest thing. And I was like, that sounds dumb, that name. Oh, most incredibly written show with kind of a bad name. Fabulous. Yeah, I'll share the brownie recipe too. I tried this the other day, copying and pasting, and it was a disaster. So, although David, you could probably Google, but I'll do a couple. I have to do a couple TikToks where I will simply get my recipes. I'll get I can get it on, I guess easy with TikTok. I can even use my phone and put the recipe on the screen and scroll. That would work. But yeah, the brownie recipe, it's great. It's not terribly hard. You've got to follow the recipes exactly for David Leibowitz's flourless brownie. You've got to follow it correctly because you've got to beat the sugar chocolate mixture for a minute. And it's very hard by hand. What I finally did is I've got one of those old school little beaters that are on the little handheld thing, and it's fabulous. I don't use it for many things, but for David's brownie thing, it's great because you got to literally beat this thing for a minute, and your arm will be killing you. But if you don't beat it for a minute, it changes the texture and turns out bad. So very nice. Yeah, we talked about this the other night. Schitt's Creek. Schitt's Creek was another one I avoided because I thought the name sounded dumb, and just fell in love with it. And with I think in 3 months, I watched the entire show. I fell in love with that show. Oh my God. Well, we said Canadians. I mean, yeah, well, I said this the other night too. What's her name? Is it Maureen O'Hara? The lead woman? Oh, what a lunatic. I love her. Yeah, Marvelous Mrs. Maple. Marvelous Miss Kelly, I don't know. Oh, you're asking somebody. Oh, I see Marvelous Miss Kelly. That's somebody's name. I'm thinking Marvelous Mrs. Maple. Another fabulous show. All right, guys, maybe another minute and then let's call it quits. We're still doing almost 2 hours, so I'm breaking my promise of trying to get off earlier. Oh, White House Instagram. Okay, let me go. Hold on. I'm going to pull up. If I can pull up Instagram on my iPad, I will look now. Supposedly, the White House Instagram page is the one getting inundated. So, you Instagram people, take a look at the White House. Let me see. Actually, I'm going to see if I'll just go Instagram. Oops. Come on. What you doing here? Hello. There we are. White House Instagram. Close enough. All right. From Meta. Weird name. I have an old. Oh, come on. Log in to see content. Oh, Jesus Christ. This is too. I'll have to do this afterwards. It's too hard to log in. And if I do it on my phone, I'll literally lose all of you Instagram folks. So all 10 of you, but we do love you. You're diehards. Yeah, guys, Richard, I just saw that. Thank you. Thank you for thanking me. As I always said, I appreciate you guys because it's actually, I will tell you this. I thought this was very funny. Somebody, I'm looking at Casey's really quick too. A book to send you called The Beaver Papers, funniest book on the planet. But who sent a letter acknowledging the gift. Oh, that's funny. They acknowledged it. That's kind of funny. I'm actually impressed they acknowledged it. That's surprising right there. I mean, because of the number of things they get. Yeah, I'll have to look at that. But yeah, thank you, Richard. No, somebody, and Kim too. Thank you. I appreciate that. Somebody was saying on TikTok yesterday, they were saying, I hope you get your account reinstated, but I've got to tell you, I like the people on TikTok better. Everyone's really nice there. And they were saying how they loved that everybody was sitting around talking and, doing our little coffee talk. It was the funniest damn thing. But yeah, TikTok, I mean, even in my comments, when I go through sort of the general comments section of all the posts, and literally every sixth comment is from a troll. It's from somebody who's trying to game something. And it's almost always Russia. And it's just always, and I block it. But I mean, they're 1 in 6, I would say. It's really bad. It's really bad. But, having said that, TikTok, and I will call Kathy right after this. TikTok has been amazing for doing this. I mean, we do well on this, but, I will tell you this too, which is kind of funny. The donations you guys give with the super chats and the stickers seem to be, although it's delayed by 3 days on TikTok, so it's hard to judge which day how much came in or whatever, seems to be on par with the amount of the stickers or whatever you call them on TikTok are, the little funny gifts you put the hat, which I do. I like my sorting hat on TikTok, but it seems to be about the same, which surprised me in terms of, how much money, donations, which is fabulous, even though the views are maybe 2,500 total of today. Today might be a little higher. Today we had more people to start with. Whereas on TikTok, I could be having 15 TikTok. I call it TikTok. I could be having 15 or 20,000 views with one of these sessions versus maybe 3,000 views here on YouTube. So it's weird. I like TikTok though, because it's a bigger audience. Having said that, it's more intimate with you guys. And frankly, you donate just as much, which is great. And I mean, trust me, I like the money because I do this. This is what I do for a living. And I don't have big clients or anything. I blog and I podcast and I do everything to, throwing it together to make money because this is what I like. But I also do this because I wanted to get out to people. I feel bad for the Ukrainians and I want to make a difference. So I want it to be on TikTok because it's a bigger platform. It's getting out to more people, so we'll see. But anyway, at least I'm still doing my videos on TikTok. They're still getting out there. So that's good. All right, guys, I am going to sign off. I've got to sign off. This is the hard part because I see, and Kim, I don't know if I thanked you. If I didn't thank you, my mind's slipping. Richard, I think I thanked you. I'm forgetting now. I'm becoming my mother. It's I don't know who I've thanked. And I do have to call my poor sister. Oh God, it's gonna be tough. Because when she was telling me they had to put the dog down, she was crying. I mean, she was inconsolable, and I can imagine even worse now. But what do you do? I've got to call tomorrow. All right, tomorrow we can do 7:00 again. I know it gets a little harder for the Europeans, but it helps the Californians a little bit. And actually, with the time change, it's not as bad for the Europeans. We'll see, guys. I'm going to have to pick one time or the other for during the week. The weekends we do earlier, but I've got to pick some time and stick with it because I don't want to keep going back and forth and confuse people. But let's do 7 p.m. Eastern tomorrow. And UTC is only 4 hours ahead right now, so it's not great, but it's not so bad. So instead of 1900 plus 4 is 2300 hours. Yeah. So I think 2300 UTC. That should work. So that's not so bad. It's getting a little late for you guys, and I apologize because I do like getting the Europeans too. It's nice, because so much of what we do is America focused anyway. On an issue like this, it's kind of nice to have the whole world come together. So in the same way that I'm glad to have Republicans and Democrats come together on this too, it feels a little better getting everybody. So in any case, tomorrow we'll do 7 p.m. Eastern time, US, 23 hours UTC. And one of these days, you need to hold me to the account that I'm not going to be on here for 2 hours getting exhausted. Someday. All right, guys. Yep. And the good thing too is Instagram, I'm going to try. Instagram gets a little confusing with how to archive it. Yeah, Instagram. Every time I say Instagram, they send me the hearts. Hello, Instagram. All 7 of you. Good night, guys, on Instagram. Thank you for this. But yeah, YouTube archives it. Facebook archives it. I'm doing this on Twitter. The Twitter link may archive it, I think. But certainly Facebook and YouTube, you've got archives. So there's no problem there. Instagram, if I can do it well, it'll be archived. But that's great. So at least you guys can see all this. Okay, guys. Good night. Sign off. Oh, the dog's still asleep. That's good. I'm going to call my poor sister and relax a little bit. So I'll see you guys tomorrow, 7 p.m. Eastern, right? And hopefully, maybe by then, TikTok has rehabilitated me in the great Soviet way. All right. Bye, guys. Ending broadcast.